This is Chris Kiesel from your guitar, hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee at Marathon Music Works today with Will Swan of Dance Gavin Dance.
What's
Will,
up?
how you doing?
I'm great.
Man, it's so good to talk gear with you because you are a gearhead. I know you've had pedal boards. There's worries of you maybe having 2 pedal boards. We looked already. You got a rack.
Yeah.
You got guitars. Now you're a signature artist at Kiesel. Tell me about that because I've seen you play Gibsons, Flying V's, Les Pauls, Strats, Strat Styles, even Electra. Old Electra. So
I did, yeah.
How did all that come to be now a Kiesel artist with this one kind of having a Stratty influence?
I like jumping around to different styles of guitars. I, kind of came up loving Gibson and Fender and liking to experiment with other things. So it actually I was opposed to signing to any kind of company because I thought, then I'll be tied down to that.
Yeah.
And I can't play something else if I, get the feeling to. But I met Jeff Kiesel and he, took me to his factory, showed me all the different styles they do. I played on a bunch of their guitars and they do so many things so well that I was like, all right, I can go to Kiesel and play all the styles I like and not have to compromise on tone or anything and still get what I want out of it. So Kiesel's just an awesome company and I like that they're so flexible and they have so many different styles.
Well, and the thing about Kiesel for us, mere mortals, we can customize any guitar through Kiesel to our specs. So for someone like you who's coming in as an artist with a name and notoriety, or not a notoriety, but you carry a weight behind it, what are things that you ask Jeff to do knowing that they can pull off a lot of different things?
I'm pretty basic. I just like a nice, clean tone. And I don't like as modern a pickups. I like kind of more vintage, lower gain pickups, kind of getting like a just classic rock tone and using modern heads and amplification to get the grit that I want.
Okay.
But I don't want too much distortion either because I want everyone to hear all the notes and have like complete clarity on what I do. So I like to find a balance between vintage low output pickups and heavy distortion on the head to get a kind of perfect tone for what we do. And that's what I can achieve with Kiesel for sure. Like right now I'm rocking this guitar and I'm just obsessed with single coils right now. So
yeah, give me a little more of the ingredients on this one specifically.
Yeah, this is my baby right now. Like I have a couple of my signature guitars which I fucking love. Oh wait, can I cuss?
Absolutely, man.
But I just had to do the single coil on this tour. So I pulled this guy out. Jeff does this color himself. Nobody else at Kiesel actually knows how to do this. So, and it happens to be my favorite color that they offer. This guitar is the best single coil sound I've heard. I've used this to record our last 2 records now.
Okay.
And it just blows my old Fender out of the water. Like even our producer, I took my old Fender and this guitar and played them, and it's like, that Kiesel just sounds amazing. So.
Now, does this apply to all the other stuff that you do, like on Blue Swan, because you have so many different projects and outlets that you get creative with? Do you have gear that's specific to each thing, or do you check the gear and apply it to everything?
It's kind of what I'm just feeling for the project at the time.
Okay.
So, like, there's no DGD and Royal Coda guitar or anything. It's just like, what am I feeling right now? And I probably should be rocking my signature, but I was just feeling the single coil, so that's what I've been doing. And it just has such a perfect tone with the head that I'm using right now. I think it's the best tone I've ever had.
Now, it's funny that, you have a signature with Kiesel, but you're using another guitar off, not necessarily off the rack, but it shows how much you do have faith in the company, that you're not just a company guy using your own signature headstock, signature guitar.
Yeah.
So you're actually using a guitar that you actually like more.
Yeah, the shameless self-promoter in me tells me to use the signature, but I just go for tone,
And before we maybe move on to another guitar, just to talk real quickly about your signature, what are the pickups in there? Is that Kiesel kind of?
Yeah, Kiesel does all their own pickups, and that was something that I fell in love with. Like, their pickups are kind of the perfect version of what I want. Like these pickups are just really classic, really clean, and I love just like a nice glassy clean. And on this tour, I'm using my head has multiple channels, but I'm not using them. I just switch volume by lowering it on here and going up to distortion by cranking it. So I just like it. It's amazing the clean tone you get just from lowering the volume on this guy. It's so clean, so awesome.
Now, we'll get there and visually when we get up on stage, but I do see that you have a volume pedal. Is there a difference why you use the volume pedal and the volume on the guitar?
I only use the volume pedal to mute myself while I'm tuning between songs. But yeah, for playing, it's just rolling it up and down. So yeah, it's kind of fun too, because it creates another aspect live where it's like you got to dial the roll perfectly, and then when I come into the part, I'm like, all right, that's good. Or sometimes it's a little too distorted, and you gotta adjust it. I don't know. It just makes it
real.
Yeah, definitely.
And before we look at the Les Paul style Kiesel you got here with your signature, is what strings and tuning are you typically playing on this run?
I'm a pretty basic standard guy. Like I've always liked just standard tuning, and sometimes I'll do drop D, but I think you could create pretty much any sound and style you want with standard. And I know a lot of people in our genre use like drop and 7-string, but I just like to use the classic standard, and I've always been a Diodero XL string guy. And I have tried all the strings, but just Dioderos, they last the whole show. Some other strings, they'll be dead 3-4 songs in. And just the pop and the brightness of them is exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, if you don't mind, I will grab your signature, and then you can kind of just tell us about it real quick, because we do want to give Jeff that equal love.
Oh, yeah. This is a newer signature that Jeff sent me.
The Swan.
And yeah, I love this guy. This is an amazing guitar. This is the other one I was thinking of using for this tour. And then I also have the original signature that Jeff made for me, and this is also a beauty. And you can see it's got that same color that I request all the time. I'm actually allowed quite a few guitars, but I haven't requested them because when I get one, it's so good that I just play the shit out of it.
That's awesome. Now, before we move up on stage, Will, I'm curious, did you approach Kiesel, or did Jeff and Kiesel approach you about working together?
We kind of met in passing. We were on tour with Veil and Maya, and we were near Kiesel's factory. So Jeff came out, and I talked to him at the show. He had some guitars, and he was just like, try this one out, see if you like it. And I was really impressed. So that kind of started our conversations, and I ended up flying down there, and the factory was awesome. It was just really cool to meet everyone. And it's such a tight-knit team too,
family business.
Yeah, you have direct interaction with the owner, and I just love the way they run everything. It's really cool to have that kind of access, and the quality control that they have is amazing.
Well, it's a hell of a business card to show up with a guitar and be like, hey, play it, try it out. So, worked out for Jeff and you guys. So congrats on the signature model and the guitars that are coming out of Kiesel with your name on them, man.
Oh, thank you. Let's
get on stage and check out the rest of your gear.
Let's do it.
All right, well, we're on stage, and I don't want to call you out, but I remember at one point seeing a quote that says you had found the ultimate amp in the orange rocker verb 100.
Yes.
So this is an orange or a rocker verb. Talk to me about the Friedman and why it's in here.
I used the orange rocker verb for so long, but mine was a little different because it was the first generation, and the transistors went out on it really quickly. And I took it to a local place in Sac, and they put some really heavy old transistors in it that were amazing. And it just has its own tone. And even when I went to record, our producer was like, I'm not really a big fan of how these record. And then we hook it up, and he's like, this doesn't sound like any orange I've ever used. So I used that for a lot of my career, but that has just been through so much. I was looking for a replacement because I didn't want to end up frying it out on tour. So that's kind of at home. It's just my legend, but I started looking around and came across Friedman, and actually our producer introduced me to them because he's always looking for good amps to record with, and I just fell in love with it. It's so versatile, and it's got that like Marshall kind of crunch, but also has its own kind of sound to it too, and can drive a little harder than like a vintage Marshall. So it's like a perfect modern version of a vintage Marshall amp, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
And yeah, this small box is just perfect. Like the distortion is amazing because it's so clear. Like I like people to hear every note.
Yeah.
Some distortions, especially for like metal and stuff, get so heavy.
Yeah.
And so just touch and it's like, and I like kind of having that classic rock tone to where you hear everything, and this just achieves that. And then when you dial it down, you just get the like really nice cleans. So it does both of the things I needed to do. Give me the heavy drive and give me like the crystal clean. And those are both the tones that I'm going for.
Gotcha. Now, talk to me about the amp, or the cabinet, sorry. What's in here for speakers, and how does it sound compared to like I know that you had the Marshall that you used for a while with the black backs, which I've never heard of the speaker that. I guess I'm always used to hearing creambacks or greenbacks.
Yeah, the blackbacks, I think they made them in just like a certain time in the 70s or 80s.
Okay.
And I got a really old cab that I tracked down with some original blackbacks, and it's pretty awesome. I also have another Marshall cab that I used to tour with a lot that had the good greenback reissues, and those were cool, but this one has vintage 30s, which is also a great amp. I'm kind of a Celestian guy, like if it's either greenbacks or vintage 30s for me. And that's all I've ever used. So those are the tones I go for, and the vintage 30s just mix so well with the Friedman. And over the years, I've realized you don't need to blow the audience out of the water. Like, cause I had a 100-watt amp and I was using a 412, and it was just, and our sound guys were always like, I need to get a mix.
Live at Leeds, baby.
Yeah, you're getting so much stage volume. So now with like a 50-watt head and the 212s, I'm still getting a lot of volume and projection, but it's not overkill, and they can still get a good mix, and I'm still getting what I want.
Well, right on. Let's dive into your pedals. You got a ground control here. As we go through, we'll see photos of everything you're using. So before we do move into the pedals, maybe give the audience a taste of like what you're talking about in the two settings that you kind of roll with the heavy classic rock, hard rock, and the clean tones. And then we'll move through your pedals.
I like on some songs it's heavy, but really fast, and I want every note to be heard. Like on Chucky, it's
you play enough notes, you don't want them to get out there where you're not hearing them, because no free notes. Everyone needs to hear every one of them.
Exactly. I want every note to pop. But then you dial it down and you get the note. Crystal clean. Yeah. So it's amazing. I just love this head, and I'm probably not gonna switch from this for the next 10 years.
Well, right on. I think a good place to start will be, it's in slot one, is that your use of the SY300 is so, invigorating and inspirational in a way. So tell me about how you use it and where at in a song or a band, or in the set list.
I love synth pedals. I'm always looking for a good synth pedal. And when I found the SY300, it blew my mind. Like, I've been using it on every record for like the last 4 records. And I'm a kind of guy who like tries to not reuse stuff too much, but I just can't stop going back to that pedal because it's got so much to offer. So I try to use new effects, but it's something I just have to have. And
let's hear it, or how you're using it.
So yeah, like I use it at the beginning of Inspire the Liars on this set. And it sounds like a synth.
Yes.
And I really like when people hear new DGD and are like, oh wow, I like that keyboard part or something. It's like, nope, there's no keyboard in this band. It's always guitar. So.
Has that ever been a thought, to add another member and do keyboards, or that's your domain?
Not really. Like, I have done a little bit of background, like synth stuff here and there, but it's rare. but I do like to do that myself.
Okay.
I like messing around with synth and like even computer synths
Yeah.
and stuff at home. Like I record in my studio at home on Logic, and I'm always buying new plugins and synths and things and kind of messing around with them, and it kind of gives me ideas even and what to do when I'm writing on guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just never-ending exploration.
The two parts of your brain kind of work together and kind of keep making the music go forward.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
new ideas.
yeah, exactly. I'm always trying to find new pedals, new sounds, new bands, just new inspiration to pull off of, because I don't want to get stale.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, let's keep moving along. You just walk me through what you got and how you use it.
All right, yeah. I really, really also like the Boss, the Eventide pitch factor.
Okay.
Yeah, the Eventide pitch factor is really versatile too. That was a pedal I came across, I think, around instant gratification, and I'm still using that one too. I use it at the beginning of Prisoner. And it does a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, that pedal's got a ton of programmability, and you could spend years creating effects on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like deep pedals like that, even though I don't read the manuals. I kind of just mess around and I'm like, that's good. You know, I don't need to understand it. It just has to sound cool.
Yeah, that's part of the fun though, getting on the floor and kind of twisting knobs.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I feel like that's a part of even writing and exploration, because I'm self-taught. I don't really know music theory or anything like that. So when I'm writing, I don't know what things are going to sound like. I'm just messing around, seeing what I like.
Yeah.
And then if I come across a riff that I dig, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I got that. Let's move to the next part. So yeah, I think even with my way that I explore pedals, it's like I don't quite know what's going to happen. But if I come across something that I like, just use it and don't question it.
Yeah, ear candy, man. If you like it, you like it.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that. What else are you working with?
All right. Let's see. For delay, it's been tough because I started out like in the digitals, and now I'm pretty much all analog.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using the El Cap as my main delay for a while, and even pumping the reverb on that a little bit too, just to give it kind of a cool sound.
Yeah.
Strymon's a really awesome company. Other than that, I'm using an MXR
Carbon copy?
carbon copy
Yeah.
for the. I really like the button on it that kind of gives it a little different sound.
Yeah, I think it's like a modulation button. Yeah.
And that makes the pedal for me. So that made its way into my my setup. I have a couple of synths. I've got this.
Now, how would you describe that sound to someone?
That's tough. Yeah. It's like, it could be, it's kind of like a cool fart,
I wish I could make cool farts. Make my fiance happy. What else you got? You got a flute here.
Yeah, this is the C9. It's an electro-harmonix pedal that I came across that I love. I bought all the Cs. I think there's like 4 of them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I use this on Son of Robot. This is kind of fluty,
Yeah. if nothing else, if it's not fluty, it's at least cool.
Yeah,
Different.
yeah, I like that one a lot. See, the Synth 9 is another 9 pedal from Electro-Harmonix.
Yeah.
And I use this in Headhunter. It's kind of dreamy.
Yeah.
I really like those sounds that just kind of take it far away from what a guitar normally sounds like.
Yeah.
And I like to mix that with, guitar licks and have a cool balance of interesting sounds and interesting parts, So for me, I need both.
It's kind of going back to you not being schooled or trained in the instrument that you come at it with a different and open perspective where you don't kind of have any rules.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just look for something cool, and if it works, it works. And
Yeah.
I don't like to think about it too hard, And I'm not somebody who even goes and writes a song and then keeps working on it and keeps perfecting it. Like, I write a part, if I like it, I like it, and then I'll move on to the next part, and that part's the part, Like,
Yeah.
I don't generally go over and change my stuff because that would just slow down my creative process.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who write amazing music and go through and revise and come up with something awesome. But for me, it's just got to be like bam, 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 and that's just how I work.
So there's no DGD like super box set release of like 18 outtakes of these songs coming out someday. Like, you know, alternative versions of these.
No way.
Well, I see a Grand Orbiter on there on your
Yeah.
taped board. How do you use that?
That is my favorite phaser that I've found in a long time. I use it for a couple parts for Lemon Meringue Thai, and let's see. And Nothing Shameful, I use it for the chorus lead.
Just subtle too. It's not like over the top. You
Yeah,
kind of hear it
yeah.
start to whoosh as the notes decay.
Yeah, it's there, but it's not overwhelming, and
Yeah.
yeah, the guitar tone's still coming out, but creating just kind of a cool
Movement.
mix with that.
Now, I see a whammy, and I saw it in the rack before we started filming. How are you using that? Because, it's a foot pedal, so is it
Yeah.
just a fixed position and you just go with that one
I
setting?
do, yeah. I don't use the whammy part. I use the octave
Okay.
setting, and that is in "We Own the Night" in the bridge, and it sounds like this.
Nice. Yeah. Now, do you have, so just to be clear, any of the drive and what people are hearing dirt-wise, you don't have any pedals pushing the amp, or do you?
No,
So it's
I've
just the
never
amp.
been a distortion pedal guy.
Okay.
I like just the amp. Yeah, there's no, I don't have any kind of rack set up for any kind of mods, or it's just amp,
Okay.
pedals.
Volume control.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to go bare bones with my setup. Like, if the bass equipment isn't good enough, then get better bass equipment rather than getting all this other stuff to
Yeah.
try and create whatever. At least that's what works for me.
Well, I think we've gone through everything on the board here, and I'll leave you with this question because you just kind of talked about it, was that you don't like to bring anything extra. Have you ever thought about going Kemper Axe Effects, considering you have a somewhat pretty expansive setup with the rack of three drawers of pedals? Have you ever thought about modeling?
Not for live or
Okay.
recording, because I feel like I'm just kind of a purist and wanting the real tube sound.
Yeah.
I do have a Kemper, but I just use it for home demoing
Okay.
because it's easy and it sounds good. But I wouldn't use it live.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against Kemper, because I think they're great, but I'm just love having a real amp, and I don't even want wireless. I'm just like, use the old school method,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Will, for talking to us and hanging out and showing us all the cool sounds you create with your pedals and stuff, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, everyone out there, stay safe, keep rocking, and we'll see you soon.